Welcome, everybody. This is the next episode of Saudi Football Fanatics, and the team is unchanged. Everyone is here. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
The trademark introduction is happening. I think it's quite obvious what we will talk about, but let's start with something else. It's good that we had a little bit more relaxing period as the Russian Saudi League had a break, but it's bad news for Al-Hilal that they did not have a break and not everything went well. So now I think we can turn to the topic, and instead of praising the break, let's talk about the main topic of today, which is the Asian Champions League and Al-Ain and Al-Hilal. Guys, you know my feelings. You know that I could talk hours or even days about these fixtures and its events, but let me pass the word to you first, because then it will be a very one-sided episode.
Yeah, it is obviously difficult to summarize such a fixture, which obviously we are very disappointed in the final results. First, I don't know, in a couple of weeks ago, we had to congratulate Al-Ain for dropping Al Nassr off the battle for the Champions League trophy. But we obviously thought that Al-Hilal, as the best Saudi team, will convincingly overcome Al-Ain, and now we know that this did not happen. Obviously, we will talk about the details now and about our personal feelings, and that we probably all feel that at some level this was rather a mistake of Al-Hilal. But we still have to congratulate Al-Ain again, because eliminating both Al Nassr and Al-Hilal, even if with a bit of luck, we could say, it cannot be a coincidence, and it's actually a high praise of their performance, and now they can go to the Champions League final.
Yeah, two interesting pieces of statistics to add to this. Congratulations to Al-Ain. The one of them is that Al-Hilal had an impressive 36 matches in a row, which all of them they won. So a victorious row, we can say.
And that's a world record. So yeah,
that's something. And another.
As I understand, even if they lose, we can praise them. Right.
Let's use this 5 minutes to 2 hours to praise Al-Hilal. Yes. After the lost match.
I started my monologue to praise Al-Ain that they were able to break this record, which is, I think, a big feat, but also a praise to Al-Hilal, obviously, so I don't deny that. But the other one, which is clearly a praise to Al-Ain only, is that according to statistics, ever since the Asian Champions League is played the way it is now, Al-Ain always eliminated a Saudi opponent when they were in the knockout stages of the Champions League, which is also very impressive.
It is.
And it seems this row, unfortunately for both Al Nassr and Al-Hilal, continues.
Yeah, and maybe we can talk about now the reasons. Taking aside personal feelings, but probably it's impossible. This is the Saudi Football Fanatics channel, and that's for a good reason. So. Everyone, to every our listeners, we will not be objective, but we will try. And start with the first leg. What happened during that first leg?
Yeah, let's cover both legs, because we didn't have the chance to meet and discuss the matches separately. But I think it's not a problem, because in terms of the Al Nassr Al-Ain matches, there were more reasons to talk about them separately, but at this stage I don't see why we should have done that. Because obviously the first, the Al-Nassr match was a classic. I think I really loved watching the matches, even though the end result was disappointing, because it would have been very glorious to see the two best Saudi teams to meet in order to fight for the final spot of the Western qualification legs, which unfortunately didn't happen, but it's history now. But in terms of the Al-Hilal matches, I think the first one is a very, very disappointing in terms of the penalties as a talking point. So the first match.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, it is disappointing in respect of the penalties and the decision made by the referee in some cases, but we will talk about that. But also, I think it was catastrophic what we see as defense from Al-Hilal during this match. I think let's start with
unusual. It was rather unusual.
It's really
surprising
unusual.
Because whenever we praised Al-Hilal, the first point in most cases was the impressive defensive record, and even though some of the penalties were, let's say, debatable, if not all of them, just for the record, Al-Ain was awarded 3 penalties, and when I was thinking about it, I don't remember the last time when I saw a football match where one of the teams got 3 penalties.
I remember
maybe
the Asian Cup. Maybe I think there was 3 penalties for Qatar. In the final. So yeah, that was a disgrace as well. But now that's the past. So let's talk about this match. So the first goal, the first penalty,
I wanted to emphasize
that before that. Yeah,
it's not the usual situation when you see 3 penalties in a match. So you're right.
Yeah, so the first penalty and the situation before that, because I saw that the defense was really high at Al-Hilal, almost at the half of the pitch, and the full space was open between the goal and the half line, and there was a large space for Rahimi to run in and to go for the goal. I don't know. I didn't see anything like this from Al-Hilal during this season.
I mean, you mean the lack of concentration, I believe, because their defensive line is generally pushed up high. That's the generic defensive tactic, part of the generic defensive tactic. So if you look at all the Al-Nassr matches are similar, the defensive line are quite high. But for some reason, or maybe we have to praise Al-Ain here, because probably they analyzed this before the match and they found some kind of a solution, because they had that quality players who could do the long runs. In that case, they could make a very nice balls through the line. But I also believe that it was a lack of concentration. It's simply, if you look at the situations, all the defenders are just reacting in a delayed manner, in very late sometimes, and that's a critique that we can tell about Al-Hilal, which is a rare thing in this podcast.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure about that. What you just said, that Al-Ain expected that the defense line will be up high, because not just before the first goal, but I think before the second one, when we saw that fast free kick, the case was kind of similar. So yeah, they are prepared for this.
That was the third, but the third
one,
The second goal was also which resulted in the first penalty, that was also a breakthrough of the high defensive line, because then Rahimi could run with the ball, or Al-Ain could run with the ball very easily, and the goalkeeper had to make that fault.
So yes, regarding the penalties, Gyula mentioned that at least one of them was debatable, if not all of them. I think the first one, it was a penalty. So
the foul itself is I think quite clear. So probably that's the clearest one. But you may argue that the situation before the penalty was an offside situation. But it's a close call.
Yeah,
It
but
can,
it's nearly impossible to assess that with our own eyes, and yeah, it was a tough, close one. I don't believe it should have been awarded as an offside, but yeah, it's
yeah, there is the rule which is often forgotten when since the VAR is introduced, that in case of in adapt, the benefit should be given to the offensive side. So based on this principle, I don't know whether this principle still lives in the era of VAR, but yeah, I would say that okay, let's go. But the second penalty, I'm sorry, but it's never a penalty in my books. It's clearly a Abulai, he hit the ball. I know some of you might not be a big fan of Abulai, but I don't know how this could be a penalty. It's ridiculous. It's quite ridiculous.
Yeah, but looking at that, so I'm trying to be objective, but I will not succeed. So I cannot say this as a penalty either. And I believe I can say that now objectively. For me, it was a great defensive error. They did not concentrate. Alain made that very clever free kick in a very quick manner, and then Abulahi did a very, very, very fast run, and I believe his tackle was pure as it is.
Yeah, it was a great tackle, honestly. So
I just tried to do it in slow motion in the replays, even after the match, and from every angle I could see that Abdullahi touched the ball in that case, and the defender only falls down a bit after when Abdullahi's body arrives, and he falls through Abdullahi in that case. So in this case, I don't see how it could be a penalty, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how. I remember back 10 years ago when I was massively watching football, even more than today probably, when I had more free time, and I remember a lot of situations similar to this when the referee didn't have the advantage to check back the situation and had to make a decision imminently, and the decision stands. And you sit at the television and become angry and shout at how could he give the penalty. You see in slow motion that the defender made the perfect tackle, but in many events we could see perfect tackles become penalties because the referee had to make a decision immediately and didn't have the chance to analyze the situation afterwards, as we had this chance with sitting in the sofa with beers. But there is a VAR, and the VAR guys clearly should have done better. I'm sorry, it's a disgrace. And if you look back the timing of this penalty and how the match stalled, Al-Hilal became into a very difficult situation, fighting back the entire match, and even more after that in the second leg. And also it could be a talking point, but I don't think we should waste too much time on it because we have a lot to talk, and we have already talked a lot. That Al-Hilal is probably wasn't used to be behind and have to fight back, because most of the time we saw them just trashing their opponents, and this was a very difficult scenario for them, to which they were not used to.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, continue, Andrews.
No, please continue. I've told
I just wanted to mention that now we are agreed that the first one was a penalty if it's not an offside. The second one wasn't. What about the third one? Because I think it's the most trickiest one from this perspective, because I think that it can be a penalty, but the move of Rahimi looked like a little bit of Saka's move from the Champions League match against Bayern Munich. I don't know. What do you think? So it can be a penalty, in my opinion, but after that decision, I'm not sure about that.
I believe it's a penalty. It was a penalty. I believe it was rightly awarded. The reasons of mine and the difference between the Saka situation. If you look the running path of Saka in that in that match in question that you mentioned, then there is no body parts of the defender in his line, and he just pushes his leg a bit rightwards and intentionally make a contact with the defender and do the dive or the fall, takes the fall in that case. In here, the problem was that Al-Hilal, the defender, just left his foot behind, which was totally crossing Al-Rahimi's natural line of running. In that case, after the dribbling move, he was running basically kind of toward, and his natural path was crossed with the defender's leg. Obviously, Rahimi was very clever and fell through this leg, but I believe this is a major difference, and that is why I believe that this was a clear penalty.
Roshan!
Russian. Saudi League.
Yeah, maybe we can say that it is unusual for Koulibaly to get into situations like that, because he was, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best players for Al-Hilal this entire year.
Yeah.
We used to talk about how good Al-Dafsari or Mitrovic is, but I think credit should go to the defense, because Bono and Koulibaly were very good additions and had a pivotal role in what Al-Hilal achieved, and they are probably not getting as much praise for this as they should. But yeah, it's a tricky situation. What I would say here that, after awarding 2 penalties to Al Ain in the first half, seeing that the second penalty was at least questionable, maybe the referee shouldn't have awarded this one to compensate a little bit, because it's quite ridiculous to get 3 penalties in 50 minutes and at least one of them is questionable. It's not a penalty. The second one was not a penalty. The first one is at least debatable because of the offside situation, but okay, we would give it. But, I could imagine decisions going the other way. But after these 2 penalties, giving a third one for this, I think it's harsh. But, life is harsh too. So
yeah, but there is no such rule in football, that if there was 2 penalties.
Yeah, but we see referees compensating left and right. So
yeah, but Al-Hilal is not a team that needs to be compensated. That's my problem. So
yeah. If you check the social media, everyone is in the same opinion. So
no, yeah, I know. I was not thinking about it. I just see that Al-Hilal is, I believe, strong enough to be able to go through these matches without.
Bottom line, they shouldn't have gotten themselves into situations.
Yeah, and honestly, this first half, I couldn't believe my own eyes. So I never seen such a weak football match from Al-Hilal, but they produced in that first half. It was, I don't know, it was very disappointing for me. Okay, we can debate about different situations, but in all of the cases, they let somebody run so easily, just basically one-on-one to the goalkeeper in that case. And that's a mistake that you never see, even in once during an Al-Hilal match, not thrice during a half. So
yeah, obviously I have to agree, but to finish the first match, let's talk about a little bit about the positives, because we see that Al-Hilal went 3 goals down in the first half, which I don't even remember when we last saw Al-Hilal concede 3 goals in the first half of a match. But after that, they could pull one back, and then came the third penalty, so it was 4-1. But after all, Al-Dafsari, if we talked about the defending of Al-Hilal, Al Ain's defending was, let's say, wasn't the best when Al-Dafsari was given the chance to pull one more back. So I think I loved how Al-Dafsari finished. It was a classic finish in my eyes. So let's say that it was a very good finish and a much needed goal, and Al-Hilal had all the chance to qualify still. Had a full match to play in Riyadh.
Al-Dafsari had the chance to score a screamer after that as well.
Yeah,
but it was landed on the post, I think. So if that could go in, then the final score could have been 4-3, and it's a much tougher situation for the rematch. But this way,
Well,
it was much harder for Al-Hilal to come back, right?
we can say that, but even if at least one of the penalties is not given, it's still only one goal difference. And, well, let's not predict what would have happened. Let's move to the second match, and let's say that everything started very well for Al-Hilal because they quickly got a penalty, which is a surprise after conceding 3 penalties in the first match. What about this penalty?
I mean, it
no
doesn't
question.
need to be talked about. It was a not so clever tackling.
Yeah, but Gyula, you mentioned at the beginning of this episode that we talked a lot about Al Nassr's matches against Al Ain because the second one was a real classic. I think it could have been a classic as well, based on the chances missed by Al Hilal during this match.
Yeah,
because it could have been a real comeback by them, and also they could have reached the final. But yeah, maybe follow the orders, and okay, we started with this penalty, and okay, they scored it, but what happened after that?
and they conceded a goal which they probably should have avoided, and it was back to square zero. I mean, still 2 goals to overcome. Probably mentally, it's a wake-up call and a not so welcome wake-up call, let's say. And yeah, I fully agree with you. If Al-Hilal scored those chances, it would have been a classic. But as it stands, I think it's have you ever heard this phrase, disappointing victory? Because in the end, Al-Hilal won the match, but it's quite disappointing that they had all the chances, I think, to score.
Yeah, and based on the stats, as I remember, they have almost 3 expected goals. But if you just watch the highlights, I think it could have been 5-1 as well, not just 3 goals.
Sometimes
based on the misses of I don't know, SMS or Aldaf Shari. On every other matches, for example, in the Erasal, they always score from these kind of situations.
Oh yeah, poor Milinkovic-Savic. What happened in the injury time? I mean, that's something that he scores. I don't know, 9 times out of 10, probably.
Yeah.
Probably even more, 9.5 per 10%.
There was another, ball which was hitting the post. Obviously, I mean, you have to mention that it would have been an own goal, but still, Al-Hilal wasn't lucky in that case either. But so they dig this hole for themselves. That's my opinion, and obviously we can blame some decisions of the referee, and we can definitely blame the fortune and luck in this game because it was not going as per Al-Hilal's wishes. That's for sure. Al-Hilal was quite unlucky, but I don't want to go full Xavi mode and blaming everyone. So probably at the end of the day, Al-Hilal has nothing to blame other than themselves for this result because they beaten themselves.
I mean, I have to agree with you. 2 matches and they conceded 5 goals. Okay, some questionable penalties. At least one of them, as we agreed, was not a penalty. But still, them 4 goals. Al-Hilal usually doesn't concede 2 goals in a match. Not to mention 5 in 2 matches. So really unexpected defensive errors, and it looks as if they collected all the defensive errors in the season and just do them in 1 or 2 matches as they did. So it's really the first match. The defense is probably to blame more than anything, probably more than the referee. I think in the first match the finishing of the offensive section was okay because they pulled back those 2 goals. Yes, Al-Nassr probably could have scored a screamer. I wouldn't say should have, but probably could have scored a screamer, which is thanks to his technical brilliance and bad luck that it hit the post and didn't go in. But on the second match, yes, there was the defensive mistake, but oh well. But there was so many chances, and they should have converted more. And then I dare say that Al-Hilal should have won this match so convincingly that there shouldn't have been extra time and anything, then they just should have gone through to the final, but it didn't happen. And we can also lament whether Mitrovic would have been fit to play. He probably would have scored some of these chances, like the ones Michael missed. I can see Mitrovic missing the same chance, but injuries are also part of the game, and Al-Hilal cannot really blame bad luck in these terms because, obviously top signing Neymar is injured for the entire season. But apart from that, and apart from this late injury, this recent injury of Mitrovic, we saw the strongest team of Al-Hilal, and unfortunately they failed. So that's my honest opinion about it. Roshan!
Russian. Saudi League. Okay, so the final will be Al-Ain against Yokohama, and I just found a fun fact about that. I don't know whether do you know the manager of Yokohama? I assume not. But it's Harry Kewell, maybe.
Wow.
You can recall his name. And you know that Al-Ain's manager is Hernan Crespo.
Yeah.
And it's maybe an easy question, but can you recall a final when they also faced each other?
Ooh. Well, QL was a Leeds and later Liverpool legend, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
So if we are talking
You
about
are close.
finals, we probably have to find Liverpool matches.
You are correct until now.
It's 2007.
Yeah, maybe something about a miracle. I don't know.
Maybe
you
in
remember
2005 around somewhere, or
yes,
something like
yes,
that.
in the Champions League finals.
Yeah, that's it.
So it will be an interesting one from this perspective as well, whether QL can beat Crespo as a manager as well, or just as a player. But it will be a nice clash between these two legends.
That was an interesting fun fact.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Probably our first interesting fun fact.
We rarely mention interesting fun facts, but this was actually fun.
Yeah,
not just a fact.
Mission completed.
Yeah, and I have another one. It is not a fun fact, but I planned to demolish you, Andris, with some Vechta facts regarding their performance in the league, because you mentioned that they are a really great team and praised them much. And yeah, I have to apologize because now I was just checking their form, and after they had a draw against Al-Ahli, they also drawn against Al-Ettifaq, and before that they had a win. So now they are in a 3-match non-losing streak. So Vechta is one of the best teams of the league right now.
Don't
based on the
don't apologize to me. Please apologize to Al Vechta.
Apologies, dear Vechta fans and Vechta team.
Maybe they needed this negative statement to start growing points. So probably Al Vechta should thank to you for the wake-up call.
Yeah, maybe next time. But okay, we won't talk about the league now. Just only 1 point. I'm sure that they will collect another 3 points this weekend as well. So that's my guess for Vechta for the upcoming run. But enough of me, I think.
Yeah,
we will review this guess in the next.
In a few more hours, we will be able to analyze this as Al Vechta is playing Al-Hazem as the time stands. In less than an hour the match starts. Yeah, just a quick look at the upcoming matches. We had and the past matches we had a Russian Saudi League match day. Let me know if there is anything you want to talk about, but I think we should cover the events in the next episode. What I can see is that the relegation battle is getting even more heated, and and a very interesting Al-Ogdud Abha match is coming up. Let me know if you want to add to this anything. If not, we will talk about the league.
Yeah, Gyula, good point. I think that will be the main derby of this round, and the one of the relegation spots can be decided in this round with this match, and another one with the Al-Riyadh Al-Ahli derby, because really important, not just because of the relegation battle, but because of the third place. Because there's a heated battle between Al-Ittihad and Al-Ahli as well. So that would be another interesting one, which we should cover in our next episode beyond the Abha match.
Yeah, so good news to our followers that in our next episode we'll not only talk about the relegation battle, but we will also cover the upper end of the table finally, because events are heating up there too. Anything else, or I can close?
You can close, I believe, now.
Yeah, I will do this. So we analyze the Champions League. But we hope that in the next season, Saudi team will reach the final and win the Champions League. We are fanatics, so we will obviously always support them. Thank you, on the other hand, for supporting us and listening to this episode. Please keep on following us. We will keep on producing episodes even in the summer break, so don't be disappointed. We have a lot of great ideas to cover in the summer, and not only the summer transfers, but that's a project we will come back to you soon, and I will not spoiler them. So thank you for listening to us. Please follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all the other platforms we are available on, and see you soon. Cheers.